Hey kids, have you ever felt like you're just too small to do something amazing? Maybe you thought, I can't be a hero, or I'm not special enough. Well, hold on tight, because today you're going to meet a boy named David, who shows us that no matter how small we are, we can all have a big, brave heart. Are you ready? Let's jump into the land of kings, sheep, and one very important secret that changed everything. The land of Israel and the search for a new king long, long ago in the land of Israel. The people had a king named Saul. At first, King Saul was a good king. He listened to God and tried to do what was right. But over time, something very sad happened. Saul stopped listening to God's voice. He started making bad choices, and his heart wasn't full of goodness anymore. God needed a new king, but not just any king. He wanted someone with a heart that truly loved him, a heart full of kindness, bravery, and obedience. So God sent his special messenger, the prophet Samuel, to find the next king. Samuel was a wise and kind old man who always followed God's directions. And this time, God's instructions were a little surprising. Go to the house of a man named Jesse in the town of Bethlehem. One of his sons will be the next king. The line of strong brothers. When Samuel arrived at Jesse's house, Jesse proudly called his sons one by one. The first son, Eliab, came forward. He was tall, strong, and handsome. Samuel thought to himself, wow, this must be the one. He looks just like a king. But God whispered to Samuel's heart, no, not him. People look at the outside, but I look at the heart. One by one, Jesse brought out his sons. Abinadab, Shammah, and Merantil's 7 sons stood before Samuel. Each time, God gently told Samuel, no, not this one. Is there anyone else? Samuel scratched his head. Jesse, are these all your sons? Jesse laughed and said, well, there is one more, the youngest. He's out in the fields taking care of the sheep. His name was David. He was just a boy. His hands were rough from guiding the sheep. His clothes smelled like the grassy hills. No one, not even his family, thought he could be special. But God saw something very special in David, something no one else could see. Bring him here, Samuel said. God's choice, a king of the heart. When David walked in, his eyes sparkled with kindness. His heart was pure and full of courage. And right then, God spoke to Samuel. He is the one. Anoint him. Samuel took a special bottle of olive oil, not for cooking, but for something holy. He gently poured the oil on David's head. This was called anointing. It meant that God had chosen David for something very, very special. Even though David was just a shepherd boy, even though he wasn't tall or famous, God saw his heart, a heart that loved, a heart that obeyed, a heart ready to serve. What does this mean for us, boys and girls? The story of David teaches us a beautiful lesson. You don't have to be the biggest, the strongest, or the most popular. What matters most is your heart, how kind you are, how you treat others, how you listen to God's voice. Every one of you can be a hero in your own story. You can help others, stand up for what's right, and make the world better just like David. Little reflection. Can you think of a time when someone surprised you by doing something kind? Is there someone you can help today, even in a small way? Remember, God sees your heart and He loves it when we choose kindness, courage, and faith. 2. David and the battle against the giant Goliath. Hey kids, have you ever faced something so big and scary that you thought, no way I can do this? Maybe a big test, a new challenge, or standing up for what's right. Well, today we're going to hear the incredible story of David, yes, the same shepherd boy who faced the biggest giant anyone had ever seen. And guess what? He didn't even wear armor. Ready? Let's step onto the battlefield together. The enemy approaches. Goliath the giant, the land of Israel, was in trouble. The fierce Philistines, a group of powerful warriors, had declared war on Israel. Day after day, their army stood across the valley, shouting insults and daring someone to come and fight them. And leading them was the biggest, strongest warrior anyone had ever seen, Goliath. Goliath was over 9 feet tall. He wore heavy, shining armor that glinted in the sun. His voice roared like thunder. He laughed at the Israelites. Send me one man to fight me. If he wins, we will serve you. But if I win, you will serve us. The Israelite soldiers, including King Saul, were terrified. No one dared to step forward. A shepherd boy brings supplies. Far from the battlefield, young David was still tending his family's sheep. But one day, his father Jesse said, David, your brothers are at war. Take them this bread and cheese and find out how they are doing. So David, always helpful, carried food to the front lines. But when he arrived, he heard Goliath's booming challenge. His eyes widened. "Why is no one stopping this bully?" David asked. "We have God on our side." The soldiers just shook their heads. "Look at him. He's enormous." David's courage shines. David knew one thing. No giant is bigger than God. He remembered how God had helped him before. He once fought off a lion to save his sheep. Another time, he defeated a bear. "God helped me then." David said, "He'll help me now." King Saul heard about David's bravery. "But you're just a boy," Saul said. "You can't fight a giant." David smiled. "I don't need to be big. I just need God." The sling in 5 smooth stones Saul offered David his heavy armor and sword. But when David tried them on, he could barely move. "Thank you, but no." David laughed. "I'm better with this." And he held up his simple slingshot. David went to the river and picked up 5 smooth stones. With a deep breath and a prayer in his heart, he stepped onto the battlefield. The battle of faith versus fear. Goliath sneered. "What is this? You send me a child. I will crush you." David stood firm. "You come at me with sword and spear, but I come at you in the name of the Lord Almighty." The 2 armies watched in stunned silence. David loaded a stone into his sling, swung it round and round, and let it fly. Whiz! The stone soared through the air and struck Goliath right in the forehead. The giant stumbled, wobbled, and then crashed to the ground. The Philistines gasped. The Israelites erupted in cheers. Victory! The smallest hero wins. Against all odds, little David defeated the mighty Goliath not with strength, but with faith. The Philistines fled in fear, and Israel celebrated. David became a hero overnight. What can we learn from David? Boys and girls, David teaches us. Courage isn't about size, it's about heart. Faith makes the impossible possible. With God's help, we can face any challenge. Think about it. Is there something in your life that feels like a giant? What small step of bravery could you take today? Reflection time. Have you ever faced something scary, but did it anyway? Can you trust that you're not alone when facing hard things? Remember, even a small sling can defeat a big giant when faith leads the way. 3. The unwanted hero. When success brings jealousy. Hey kids, have you ever done something really good like winning a game, getting a prize, or helping someone and then, instead of being happy for you, someone else got jealous? It can feel confusing and sad, right? Today, we are going to find out what happened to David after he became a hero. Did everyone love him? Did life get easier? Or did new challenges appear? Get comfy, because this is a story of success, jealousy, and how to keep a good heart no matter what. David the hero. After David bravely defeated Goliath, he became the talk of the whole kingdom. People cheered his name. David, David, David. Even King Saul was impressed. He invited David to stay at the palace. David became a leader in the army. Every time he went to battle, he won. The people sang joyful songs. Saul has killed thousands, but David has killed tens of thousands. David's heart remained humble and kind. He always gave the glory to God. The green-eyed monster, jealousy. But something dark began to grow in King Saul's heart. Jealousy. He heard the songs. He saw how much the people admired David, and instead of feeling proud, he felt angry. Why do they like David more than me? Why does God seem to bless David? Jealousy made King Saul miserable. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't smile. Worst of all, he couldn't think straight. David's kind heart. Even though Saul started to act strangely, David stayed kind. He continued to serve the king faithfully. He still played beautiful music on his harp to help Saul relax. He still led Saul's armies bravely. But jealousy is like a bad seed. It kept growing. One day, in a moment of anger, King Saul picked up his spear and threw it at David. David dodged just in time. His heart was pounding. What is happening? Why does the king want to hurt me? A true friend. Jonathan. Now here comes one of the most beautiful friendships in the Bible. David's friendship with Jonathan, King Saul's son. Jonathan loved David like a true brother. He saw David's good heart and bravery. He knew that David was chosen by God. When Jonathan learned that his father wanted to hurt David, he warned David right away. David, you must leave. It is not safe here anymore. But I promise, I will always be your friend. The two friends hugged, with tears in their eyes. They made a special promise to always care for each other's families, to stay loyal no matter what. On the run, David had to run away. He left the palace, his family, and everything he knew. He hid in caves. He wandered through deserts. But even while running, David never let bitterness enter his heart. He still trusted God. He could have been angry. He could have planned revenge. But he chose peace, kindness, and faith. What can we learn? This part of David's story teaches us something important. Sometimes when we succeed, not everyone will be happy for us. Jealousy can make people act badly, but we should never stop being kind, faithful, and true to who we are. Like David, we can be humble when we succeed. We can be forgiving when others are unfair. We can trust that God has a plan, even when things seem hard. Reflection time. Have you ever felt jealous of someone else? How did it feel? Has anyone ever been jealous of you? How did you respond? How can you show kindness, like David, even when others aren't kind back? 4. A true friend. David and Jonathan's loyalty. Hey kids, have you ever had a best friend, someone who stands by your side no matter what? Someone who cheers you on, helps you when you're sad, and sticks with you even when things get tough? Well, today we're going to hear one of the most beautiful friendship stories in the Bible, the story of David and Jonathan. Their friendship teaches us all about loyalty, honesty, kindness, and courage. So let's dive into this heartwarming story together. Jonathan, the king's son with a brave heart. Jonathan was the son of King Saul. As the prince, Jonathan was supposed to be the next king after his father. But Jonathan wasn't proud or selfish. He had a brave heart and loved what was right. When David defeated Goliath and became a hero, Jonathan didn't feel jealous. Instead, he felt proud and joyful. He saw David's courage and recognized his goodness. The Bible says that Jonathan's soul was knit with David's soul. That means they were like brothers in their hearts. Jonathan gave David his royal robe. He gave David his armor, sword, and bow. This wasn't just sharing. Jonathan was showing that he honored David and saw the greatness in him. They became the best of friends. The danger grows, but back in the palace, King Saul's jealousy kept getting worse. The more people loved David, the angrier Saul became. One day, Saul shouted, "David must die." Jonathan was shocked. He knew his father was wrong. He decided he had to warn David. "My friend, you must hide. I will find out my father's plans and send you a secret message." Jonathan knew this was dangerous, but true friends stand up for each other. The secret signal. Jonathan made a clever plan. He told David, "I will shoot 3 arrows into the field. If I say, 'The arrows are beyond you,' it means you must run far away." Jonathan went to dinner with King Saul. Saul's anger exploded. He even threw a spear at Jonathan for defending David. Jonathan left the palace in tears. He went to the field, shot the arrows, and gave the secret signal. David had to leave and never return to the palace. The sad goodbye. David came out of hiding. The two friends hugged and cried. Even though they knew they had to say goodbye, they made a special promise. We will always be friends. Our families will always care for each other. Even if we are apart, our hearts are together. It was a very sad moment, but also a beautiful one because it showed how true friendship never ends. What made their friendship so special? They trusted each other. They stood up for each other. They kept their promises. They put kindness above power. Jonathan knew that David was chosen by God to one day be king, and instead of being angry, Jonathan cheered for his friend. What can we learn from David and Jonathan? A true friend supports you even when it's hard. A true friend keeps their promises. A true friend helps you do what's right, even when others don't. Friendship is one of the greatest gifts God gives us. It's not about always agreeing, but about always caring, helping, and staying true. Reflection time. Do you have a friend who sticks by you when things get tough? How can you be a better friend to someone this week? Can you think of a time when someone stood up for you? 5. The long journey. David, on the run, and the power of patience. Hey kids, have you ever wanted something so badly but had to wait and wait for it? Maybe it was a special toy, a fun trip, or a big goal. Waiting can be hard, right? Well, today we'll explore a time when David, the same David who defeated Goliath, had to wait 4 years before becoming king. It was not easy. But through this story, we'll learn about patience, trust, and staying kind even when life is hard. David on the run. After David said goodbye to his best friend Jonathan, he had no choice but to run away from King Saul, who was still determined to harm him. David hid in caves. He wandered through lonely deserts. He lived with a small band of loyal friends who believed in him. But even though life was tough, David never forgot that God had a plan for him. David's kindness, even when chased one day, while hiding deep inside a cave, something incredible happened. King Saul came into the very same cave, not knowing David was there. David's men whispered, "Now's your chance. Take the throne. Get rid of Saul." But David gently shook his head. "No," he said, "I will not harm the one God has chosen." Instead, David secretly cut off a small piece of Saul's robe, just to show he could have hurt him but chose not to. When Saul left the cave, David called out, "Look, my king, I could have harmed you, but I didn't. I don't want to hurt you." Saul was moved. For a moment, his heart softened, and he wept. "You are a better man than I am," Saul admitted. The waiting years, even though Saul sometimes calmed down, his jealousy would return. So David kept moving from place to place, always waiting for God's perfect timing. He never tried to force his way to the throne. He never fought back in anger. He remained faithful and patient. Some days must have felt lonely. Some days, David must have wondered, will God's promise ever come true? But David kept singing to God, writing beautiful psalms full of hope and trust. The final battle and sad farewell years passed. Finally, a terrible battle happened between Israel and the Philistines. Many brave soldiers died. David's best friend, Jonathan, died in battle. Even King Saul died. It was a very sad day for David. He grieved deeply, not just for Jonathan, but even for Saul, his old enemy. He respected that Saul had once been God's anointed king. David's heart was always full of mercy. David becomes king after Saul's death. The people of Israel remembered David, the boy who had defeated Goliath, the soldier who had won battles, the man who had always acted with kindness and patience. And finally, they crowned David as king of Israel. David's long wait was over. His patience and trust in God's timing had been rewarded. What can we learn from David's long journey? Patience is powerful. Sometimes we have to wait for our dreams. It's not easy, but it makes us stronger. Kindness wins. Even when others are unkind, we can choose to act with grace and goodness. Trust in God's timing. Sometimes we don't see the whole picture, but God always has a plan for us. Reflection time. Have you ever had to wait for something important? How did it feel? How can you practice patience this week? How can you show kindness even when others might not? 6. David becomes the beloved king. Hey kids, have you ever dreamed of being a king or queen, wearing a shiny crown, sitting on a golden throne, and making big decisions? It sounds exciting, right? But today, we'll discover what made David the little shepherd boy who faced giants and showed kindness into one of the greatest kings in history. And more importantly, we'll learn how being a good leader is not about power or riches, but about kindness, fairness, and love. David is crowned king after many years of waiting, after running, hiding, and showing patience. David was finally crowned king of Israel. The people gathered and shouted, "Long live King David!" They remembered how David had trusted God. They remembered how he had saved them from Goliath. They admired his bravery and kind heart. David was no ordinary king. He didn't rule with pride or selfishness. He ruled with humility, which means he stayed humble and remembered where he came from. A king with a shepherd's heart. Even though David now lived in a palace instead of a shepherd's field, he still cared for people the way he once cared for his sheep. He made fair decisions. He prayed to God every day. David wasn't perfect. Sometimes he made mistakes, but he always came back to God with a heart full of honesty and love. David loved writing songs too. Many of these songs are called psalms, and people still read and sing them today. A king of peace and worship. David didn't just fight battles, he brought people together. He encouraged worship, music, and joyful celebrations for God. One of the most famous stories is when David danced with joy as they brought the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem. He danced in front of everyone. He didn't care about looking royal or fancy. He just wanted to celebrate God's goodness. David showed that true joy comes from the heart, not from crowns or thrones. What made David a beloved king? He loved God with all his heart. He cared for people and listened to their needs. He asked for forgiveness when he made mistakes. He stayed humble, remembering that everything he had came from God. God even made a special promise to David. One day, from David his family would come a king who would bless the whole world, and that king would be Jesus. What can we learn from King David? Leadership is about kindness, not power. Joy comes from loving and trusting God. Even great leaders make mistakes. but can find forgiveness. We can all be leaders by setting good examples. You don't need a crown to be a leader. Every time you show kindness, help someone, tell the truth, or forgive you, are showing the heart of a true king or queen. Reflection time. What kind of leader would you like to be? How can you show kindness and fairness to others? Can you think of someone you admire who leads with kindness?